So today I am going to talk to you all about the 8 rules to having a successful circle of influence, because this is going to tie in a lot to what we talk about tonight on tonight's call for authentic leadership. It's really going to tie in together. So we've talked a lot about how our circle directly impacts the way that we show up in the world and the things that we believe and what we believe we're capable of or not capable of, and the money that we believe is possible, how much money there is to make, and how quickly you can do it. All those things are determined by the people we spend the most time with. And we've talked about creating that powerful circle that's just the people that you can celebrate with and run by obstacles with and really use to grow your business. So I want to talk to you guys today about how to interact with those people once you create that circle. And I want you to really think of this in terms of anyone in your business, essentially. Uplines, downlines, like your coaches, your mentors above you, whether they're in your direct 5-person mastermind circle, that's normally what I do, is like around 5 people, whether they're in that circle or we're just talking your big expanded network, anyone that would be in your business or your organization, the same rules are going to apply. All right, and I've taken notes so that I can stay on topic. I'm bad about that. But the first rule is you can be right or you can be rich. And that is pretty much interchangeable in a lot of different ways, but we're just going to stick with you can be right or you can be rich. When you become an entrepreneur and you really take responsibility for your life and your business, you can no longer spend energy arguing with what is or isn't. Because one of my favorite thought leaders is Byron Katie, and she really teaches loving what is. And she says, if you argue with reality, you only lose 100% of the time. And I think I've said that before on another video, and it just still rings true. You can spend energy thinking that someone should have signed up with you, or that this client should be yours, or they should be ordering more. Your coaches should be doing more than what they're doing. They should be participating more, that they should be building their businesses faster. You can spend all this time doing it, thinking this, but really it's just an argument with what really is in reality, and it takes a lot of your energy and your space. But the other thing is you don't learn when you're in a space of being right. I can't remember who it was, but I remember watching a TED Talk that really blew my mind. It was about arguments and disagreements, and he said that he found that he learned and grew more when he lost an argument than when he won it. Because when he won it, essentially he was bending somebody else to his will. And when he lost an argument, he learned something. He took something from it, right? Someone was able to convince him because he was open to learning more. And when you come from that place, like I never feel the need to be right about anything. I'm so easy to just say, oh yeah, you're right. Oh, that's great. That's a great point. Like, I'm really open to that. People are always blown away by it, but I find that I can learn more that way. I can grow more. I can experience more that way. And so I want you to really, from this point on, establish the idea that if you are right, you are stuck. Right means no growth. Right means no learning. Right means staying exactly where you are. Right means not building your business. Right means not making more money. You just can't be in that space. Whether you really are right or not, it doesn't matter. Like, sometimes you have to be wrong just to be wrong, just to let it happen and to learn. And, whether it's, you don't have, and I'm not saying agreeing with other people. I'm not saying that you just adapt to what everybody else says, right? It's just about, you can know you're right and still learn something and grow something from someone else and their opinion and their view. And you can still be open to growing through that. And you can still support somebody else and not need to call them wrong. Like, in my mind, the way I operate is everyone is right. Everyone is right because the story that we create is always from our perspective. Right? We learned that on one of the videos where secondary characters. I say we're the heroes of our story, and everybody else is a secondary character. And the hero, because we're watching the whole world through our eyes, through our view, we will always be right. Our mind will always be able to justify why we're right. It will be able to come up with a million reasons. So trying to tell yourself that you're wrong can be a losing battle, and trying to convince somebody else that they're wrong is also a losing battle. So I really, truly believe everyone's right. Right? I've also taught that in the two truths, right? I know that you can come from fear, and I know you can come from love, and I can always tell if someone's coming from fear or love, and I always can tell if I'm coming from fear or love. And for me, I choose love over fear, but just because I choose love over fear doesn't mean that someone else should. It just doesn't. I can never, ever know what's possibly right for someone else, and so I like to live in that realm that we're all right. Everybody is right because it's their story. So if they feel wronged, whether I wronged them or not, I respect the fact that they feel that way and that I contributed in some way to that. And we're going to talk about that on tonight's call. But I heard this incredible lesson that people only do things that, like if you feel hurt by someone, people only wrong other people for 3 reasons. Or all 3 reasons have to line up. There has to be a need, there has to be a justification in their mind, and there has to be an opportunity. Right? So if someone has done something that you think they've done something wrong to you, all 3 things had to line up, which means that somehow you created a justification in their mind for it, whether you meant to or not. There was a need, and maybe you just missed their need. That could be like the justification. Maybe you should have really seen that need for them, whatever it was. And then the opportunity. Maybe you created an environment that made it possible. Maybe because of who you were in the past, something you might have said to them in the present, who knows? But that's the only reason why people do bad things is there's a need, a justification, and an opportunity. And if you live your life in a realm of I contribute to that, even if I don't mean to, then you don't ever need to argue with someone as whether they're right or wrong, or whether you hurt them and, oh, well, I didn't mean to and that's your problem, right? You just don't need to do that. So that's the first rule. The second rule is going along with the first one, you have to choose intent, right? So inherently, unless someone is a psychopath, then all people truly are good at heart. No one means to hurt people. No one means to blow someone off. It's never someone's intention to do wrong to someone else, unless there's need, justification, or opportunity, right? So it goes back to the first thing. But with your circle, we're not talking about everyone in your life. What I'm talking about is your circle. You only bring people into your circle that you believe 100% in their intent, that they are good at heart, and that no matter what, they are always trying to do the right thing, that they are always doing the best that they can. If you believe that about someone, then no matter what they do, you can just ask yourself, where was the need, the justification, and the opportunity? Where was the break in our integrity as 2 people working together? And then you can never feel wronged by that person. You can really come from a place of unconditional love with that person. And when you're building your circle of influence, it has to be that way. You can't lift each other up and help each other through obstacles and hold each other accountable to your highest selves if you're questioning the kind of person the other person is. So you just have to go with their intent is always to do good. So if they're not doing good, then you can say, instead of being mad or upset or hurt and playing a victim, then you can just go to them and know, because I know your intent is amazing, what happened. And let's just talk about it, right? So you just have to decide that the intent is they're never out to get you, that they're not meaning to hurt you, that they're not meaning to undermine your business, they're not meaning to take business from you, that the intent is always there, that they want to do good and do good by themselves and by you. And so that just always has to be a standard. The moment you question someone's intent, they can't be in your circle. If you're questioning their intent, you can't be in their circle and they can't be in yours. Period. So the third rule plays off of that. Victim mentality versus vulnerability. You cannot be a victim in your circle. And this is how you know when you're in victim mentality. And I was in this place for a very long time, and my circle of influence, thank God, just never let go. They just always pushed for me and fought for me and really tried to get me to to take responsibility for my life, and eventually I did. So I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful that they did this, and this is why I thought to add this into this week. Victim mentality is anytime you believe that life is happening to you, which means that something happened that was out of your control and it was against you. Anytime you give control to something else, if you give control over a client, if you give control to somebody else in your organization, they were able to harm you in some way. They were able to cause bad feelings in you in some way. Like you have a negative emotion and somehow it was caused by something outside of you. That is what I would classify as victim mentality. And it's really tricky because our minds justify everything. So your mind will justify why you're right. But then it goes back to the first rule. You can be right or you can be rich, right? So we're not talking about, this is a whole nother ballgame of how to show up in life. It really is. You cannot be in victim mentality and be rich. You can't be right and not be in victim mentality, right? You have to believe in people's intent, and be open to finding out the opportunity, the justification, and the need in order to not be in victim mentality and be the next thing, which is vulnerability. So vulnerability is being open to really talking everything out with someone. If you've been hurt, being able to say, I hurt my feelings. I hurt my own feelings. I've had this conversation, you did this, and I made it mean this to me, and it hurt my feelings. And I just want to know what you meant by it. And it's always the complete opposite. I remember having, let me give you a good example of this. I remember having an argument with someone in my circle who is my best friend. And my feelings were very hurt by what I perceived they did. And so I just called her and said, this is how I feel. I feel like this is what happened. And I made it mean that you didn't want to spend time with me, and it really hurt my feelings. And she brought up, at this point, I brought this to you, and the way that you reacted to it made me feel like it was really insensitive. And I thought, wow, okay. So I know 100% that I was being sensitive in that moment, and I was sending her my love, and I cared, and the way I handled it was the best way I thought to handle it in that moment. And so because I knew that my intent was in the right place, I could also know her intent was in the right place. And from that, we really grew out of that conversation. We were able to say, wow, so we were both in the right intent. It just, the way that we showed our love was not the way the other person received it. And that's okay. We just have a conversation with it and move on. That's it. And then I sent her a funny little Justin Bieber, I'm sorry video. Right? But you have to really be vulnerable to have those conversations that are really uncomfortable. For me, I grew up thinking arguing is bad, and it means people will leave you. So the first 6 months of my circle of influence, anytime someone upset me, I held it in and I just bottled it up and was very passive aggressive about it and talked to other people about it that were outside of my circle. And it didn't help me grow at all. It didn't make me a better person. It didn't help grow my business, and it didn't make me closer with my circle. The only thing that's made me closer with my circle, which has really helps me show up as my highest self, has been being really open and talking about things that make me uncomfortable. And vulnerability is not just about being open and talking about things on that level. I think it takes a very vulnerable person to say, this happened in my business. It was not the result I had hoped for. So what can I do to be better for next time? For example, this person and I are good friends, and this person signed up as a coach under somebody else. And they felt more comfortable to do it under that person, or for whatever reason, it doesn't matter how it happened. They signed up under someone else. How could I make sure that never happens again? Or I lost a client and they went up and they just decided to do something else, right? They either joined another network marketing business, or they signed up to be a coach under someone else, or for whatever reason, I'm finding these things are happening with multiple of my clients. It's been something I keep hearing about. And, for me, I know specifically with not anyone that's in this group at all, but I know someone that was really counting on one of his clients to sign up as a coach, and then she decided she wanted to sign up with someone else in a different city because she was moving to that city, and she wanted her business to be like all in the same city. She wanted her mentor to be in the same city she was in. And this person, he was very upset about it and very stuck in this shouldn't have happened to me. Like it's unethical that it happened. But really, that's victim mentality. That's saying something happened to me and it wasn't fair. So it's not fair, it's not right, that shouldn't have happened. All of those things are in the victim mentality. Being vulnerable could say, okay, what could I learn from this? Maybe I didn't establish a good enough relationship with her. Maybe I should really focus, especially if they're not in the same city with me, giving them extra love, giving them extra attention, making sure they're fully taken care of and they know that I will lead them no matter how far away they are. Maybe I should have taken a trip to visit them. If they're really going to be in my organization for life, I know right now, especially with network marketing, maybe you don't make a ton of money off of one coach signing up in the moment. But maybe, what if that person has a huge organization and over 10 years you make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of them? Would it have been worth a trip to wherever they live to just touch point with them? And maybe spend the time looking for more clients, right? Maybe that would have been worth it. So these are things like anytime something happens, it doesn't go my way in my business, or anytime something happens in my circle of influence that makes me feel bad, I really write down how could I have shown up differently? How could I have come to the table differently? What can I learn from this? That's being vulnerable. What can I learn? How can I grow? How can I show up differently so that this doesn't happen again? Because victim mentality is I have no control over this. Vulnerability is ideal. I can't control other people, but I can control how I show up. I can control me. It's the only thing I can control. And that goes back to, I was talking about this on another video, just about the idea that, I can't remember, that you can't, that you can't control, you can't control other people, and you can't control outside circumstances, but you can always control how you react to it. I think it was on one of the videos I talked about it, and maybe not, maybe I just thought I did, but when you take full responsibility, and maybe it was responsibility versus blame, I don't know, I talked about it in some capacity, but there is a realm in which you cannot control anything outside of you, even if you think even if you try. You just can't. You can't control anything outside of you. You can control how you show up to every situation, and maybe it was on your highest self video, it might have been that. You can show up as your highest self, or you can show up as a lesser version, but as your highest self, there is no room to be a victim, to be right, or to not see the proper intent of someone. There's just no room for it. So that's rule number 3. Rule number 4 is celebrate everybody. No matter what's happening in your business, you celebrate other people. If you had the worst month you've ever had, but other people hit mile markers for them, or they hit Success Club, or they hit whatever the next level is for them, you don't make that mean something about you. You show up for them and celebrate for them, and you really come from a place of joy for them. Because I love this quote, you can admire someone else's beauty without questioning your own. And that's really what it's about. So it might not be your month. It may not be your day in the sun. It might not be your time to shine, but it is someone else's, and you will shine brighter by celebrating them than by being envious or wallowing in your, you didn't succeed and they did. And I really had to learn that the hard way as well. So all of these are also, I'm teaching you lessons that I have learned over a year and a half of interacting with my circle. So the next, number 5, is looking for solutions, not indulgence. And that goes back with victim mentality versus vulnerability. It's just really a different way to explain it. So our friends, our best friends, our siblings, our parents, they might be people that we call to when we want to complain, or we want to bitch, or we want to be upset or wallow in our pity, right? We want someone to feel sorry for us. That's not what our circle is for. Our circle is to come in an open mind, ready for coaching. I have this obstacle and I need help with it. If you are not looking for help and you just want to sit in your negative emotion, that is okay. You just don't take it to your circle. That is not what your circle is for, because you have to be careful about, you want to be impeccable with your word, which is rule number 6. But you want to be very careful with how you speak, because remember, when we go back to self-integrity, your thoughts and your feelings and your actions have to be aligned with what you want. So you use your circle to help you get there. Pick the result you want. Whatever result that is, you have to show up in your thoughts and your feelings and your actions, right, with what you want from as your result in your circle. Which means you can't just show up at a team event and be complaining or upset or in victim mentality or so-and-so did this to me. You've really got to show up from a place of, okay, I hate that this happened and it felt like shit. So what do I need to do to not feel like shit again? That's true. I mean, that's real, right? I feel like shit and I don't want to feel like shit. So what can I do to change that? That is showing up and taking responsibility. I can't change this other person, but I can change me. And we learned from secondary characters, like when you do change you, your secondary characters change too, which is really interesting, right? So no gossip, no complaints, no justifications, no excuses, right? And we're going to just dive right into a couple other rules, but also like we don't, and this is going to be really going into being impeccable with your word, but we don't gossip because we don't talk bad about people in our circle. The only thing that can come out of your mouth with your circle are amazing things about your circle. That's rule number 6. We'll talk about it. But let's talk about indulgence for a second. Looking for solutions is really taking responsibility. And looking for indulgence is, I feel bad and I want to continue to feel this way and I just want someone to agree with me. I just want someone to tell me, oh, I'm so sorry. That's awful. And that's okay. But call your best friend for that. Call your sister. Call your mother. Don't call your circle. Your circle needs to be the people that you say, I'm ready for help. Help me. So sometimes you may not, or I'm stuck and I can't get out of this indulgence, of this bad feeling, of this justification, of this victim mentality, of this blame, of this self-doubt. Come help me. Help me. Do whatever it takes, but help me. Right? That's what really, like, looking for solutions, being responsible, being vulnerable is about. But indulgence is tricky because indulgence is always justified. It always feels bad, but it feels right. Like, I just want to feel this way. Have you ever, like, been so mad that you know you're wrong, but you still feel mad? And you're like, I just want to feel bad. I'm just pissed and I'm not over it yet. I know I'm wrong, but I'm still pissed. That's indulging. It feels like you should still be pissed. It feels like you should still be mad. It feels like that's the right thing. Or maybe it's just a normal pattern of behavior. And if it's a normal pattern of behavior, it won't feel good. Like, negative emotion doesn't feel good, but it will feel like the right reaction to it. It will feel like self-protection. Any type of self-protection, or it feels like justified, that sort of thing is indulging. That's indulging in something. And you can't be responsible and vulnerable and be indulging and victim. You can't. So when you go to your circle, it's got to be for solutions, for help, for reaching over your obstacles. So then number 6 is being impeccable with your word. I want you to imagine how it feels when you leave a room and you walk back in and you have the negative feeling that people have been talking about you. And you instantly feel embarrassed or weird or like, oh God, what were they saying about me? Or, oh, I just walked into something I shouldn't have heard. It's the worst feeling in the world. So I want you to come from a different place. I want when people out of your circle, like if you're at a team function, maybe even you're just out having drinks with the team or out having dinner with the team and someone gets up to go to the bathroom, The only thing that should be said about them while they're gone are amazing things. When they come back in the room, they should feel like, oh my God, were you guys talking about me? Like, if they overhear things, it should be like, oh my God, I can't believe you were talking about me? Like, oh, that's nice, right? Whether you have to hold your tongue or not, you say nothing bad about your circle. Never. Never, 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 never. It should always feel so good for them to walk in the room and feel confident. They should always feel trust that you are going to be the people who always hold them the highest, in the highest regard, and you guys are always the one that will lift them up and say positive things about them. That's the point of the circle. It's to break habits of like how we interact with our friends and our family. It's to, if you need to do that with your friends and family, but not your circle of influence. There's always got to be this amazing like energy in the group, and it can't be that way if there's mistrust or misalignment or incongruency. So that's really got to be something that you aim to work on all the time. And if you struggle, reach out to someone in your circle and say, I'm struggling with this. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes feel like mad at you, or sometimes I feel like you guys are, whatever it is, just talk about it and get it out in the open so that they can help you through it and be in that space of I want to be helped through it. I don't want to be like this anymore. And then number 7 is don't hold each other back. It can feel bad when you're both aiming for the same thing and you're best friends and they go first, right? Maybe it's, one person is really ready to step it up and start private coaching and the other person isn't. It's about not being jealous about that. Like, whatever you choose in your business and your life, it's your choice. And whatever they choose in their business and life, it's their choice. And you just be happy for all of their successes, because I want you to think about this. If your beliefs, your ability to succeed, and how much money you will make, your net worth, is directly correlated with your network. If your circle of influence starts making a lot of money and starts having a lot of success and growing their business, that automatically bumps you up. That automatically moves you up because you're in the circle, right? So if their success becomes your success, whether it just is your belief that it's possible, like you see someone succeed really quickly, you can choose to be envious of that, or you can choose to say, whoa, that means it's possible for me too. Right? So your net worth is directly correlated with your network. So all of their success is your success because it just affects your mentality. And then number 8 is challenge each other to be better. Don't be afraid to bring something to someone in a really positive, responsible way. Don't be afraid to, I talked about this I talked about this on one of the videos where I said on honoring your highest self. When I went through a breakup and I canceled a coaching call, and my circle, one of the girls in my circle said, I totally get it. But I also realized that I have to show up as my highest self, so even when I'm feeling bad, I teach other people that they have to work through that emotion, so I show up and I be my highest self even when I'm going through it. And that was whoa, yeah, you're right. I can't do that. I've got to show up no matter what I'm going through. I have to show up as my highest self no matter what. She challenged me, and it made me better. And there are times I challenge her, and it makes her better. And there are times where, we challenge each other on multiple levels at the same time, right? It's all about growth. It's all about being better. So I want you guys to use these 8 rules in your circle and really work to create a very powerful, and you can even consider this group, right, a circle of influence. The people that are on this group, the girls that are doing Diva Business School, this is going to be a circle for you. It's going to be an amazing circle. And we're not going to talk bad about each other. We're going to talk amazing about each other. And we're not going to be victims. And we're not going to blame. And we're going to believe that everyone has amazing intent no matter what. And we're not going to need to be right. We're going to be open to learning and growing and hearing things about ourselves that don't feel good, but being willing to grow through it. We're going to follow these rules. In Diva Business School, in the next Net Worth of Your Network event, in everything. We're going to choose to see the best in each other and hold each other to that standard. So this is a little bit longer video than I intended, but I really wanted to create some powerful rules to follow so that you really understand what the end goal is. Like, you want to be able to get to a place where you're just automatically honoring all of these rules. If you have to work on one at a time, that's okay. In Diva Business School, we have 52 weeks to work together, right? If you focus on one of these things a week, in 8 weeks, you'll be completely different. So, it's not about like just, I have to be perfect at all of these all at once. It's just about what area can I work on this week to make me better for my circle. That's really what it is. So I hope you guys have a great week, and this is really going to tie into what we're going to talk about tonight and the rest of the week on authentic conscious leadership. So I can't wait. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.